Hello, my name is Jeff Lovejoy. I'm a certified business coach with Action Coach, and I've been doing it for 13 years, working with business owners in the metro Atlanta area to help them grow their businesses. And one of the big areas that I make a contribution in is the hiring of top quality talent. I find that all too often business owners are willing to accept average employees and then expect exceptional results. Well, if you hire average, you're only going to get average. So last week I spoke about how to recruit top quality talent. Talent I call rock stars. These people are knocking it out of the park, and they're out there. So if you missed that conversation, go look at it because there's some valuable insights in terms of how to attract the best. Today I want to talk about how to interview or how to screen to make sure that you get the best, because you'll get a lot of applications. A lot of them will be overstating their capabilities, maybe not to the point of BSing it, but maybe close. So there are 4 things I want to go through today. And the first is, when you're doing your interviewing, it's so important that you focus on not just their technical skills, but also their personal traits. It's not uncommon that business owners hire highly skilled people, and then they find that they're not working out because they can't communicate, they are late, they're argumentative, they aren't good teammates. So these are the kind of things you've got to find out during the interview process. And so what I recommend is that you make a list of 3, 4, or 5 top personal traits that you want to have on your team. That if you don't have those 3, 4, or 5 traits, you're not going to accept the candidates. We're not going for average here. We're going for top-notch talent, rock stars. Let's all make that a mission. It'll take a little longer, but the difference will be dramatic. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to identify what are the personal traits that you expect or require that this candidate possess. The second thing to think about is, how are you going to interview them? Is it more the traditional one-on-one interview? Are you going to have multiple people interview? I highly recommend group interviews. So think about the amount of time that's spent doing one-on-one interviews, and especially if you're having multiple people in your business interview the candidates. That's a lot of time that's spent interviewing. I suggest group interviews because A, you get 3 or 4 people on your team together and participate all at the same time. So now I've got one set of interviews. And especially, I highly recommend having all the candidates there. So you've got 3 or 4 or 5 candidates, and you've got your team of 3 or 4 people with you. The reason for this is A, you only have one real interview for the 4 or 5 candidates. You're seeing every candidate in real time. You're not interviewing someone on Monday, and the next candidate is on Tuesday, and the next one is on Thursday, and you don't ask the same questions, and how they answer them is a little different, but you don't pick up the nuances. You're seeing it live. And so you should designate each person on your team to explain what they do, and then ask questions that are important to them for candidates. And the other people who are on the panel are listening and observing and taking notes, so that at the end of the group interview, that you pull your team together and you look at each of the candidates and assess how well they would do in your work environment. The third thing to think about is skills testing. Do you do any type of skills testing? I was recently talking to an electrician, and he says, yeah, he has, anytime someone comes in and interviews with him, he has them go through an electrical wiring test. And he knows if they can't pass that test within a certain amount of time, that they're not good enough to be working on his team. Well, do you do the same thing? I know when I was in corporate banking, I would have to sit down and write 3-page essays almost on how I would handle a certain situation. So think about, what can you do to see in real time how well they respond to a certain situations, whether it's wiring electrical panels, whether it's how they handle dealing with difficult employees, whatever the situation you're going to put them in, think about how you can simulate that and create a test to assess how well they would do. Thirdly, think about involving, or fourthly, I guess, think about involving and using behavioral assessments. I suggest DISC, but I've had a good friend, Richard Stuckey, who has another very good behavioral assessment process. The assessments give you more insights into the candidate than you'll pick up in just the interview process. So I highly recommend them. And lastly, let's not focus on average. Focus on hiring rock stars. They will make a huge difference in your business. They're out there. You have to know how to attract them. And once you attract them, you have to know how to identify them. So I hope these ideas have helped. I'll be glad to talk in more detail about them if you'd like. Just give me a call at 404-444-1836 or send me an email, jefflovejoy@actioncoach.com. All the best and great success in finding your rock stars. Bye-bye.